Okay, moving on. I think it's time we close up the fuselage. And there's a couple of things we need to do before we close it up permanently. There's a couple of panels that are going to go on the top part of the inside of the cockpit. And it's going to be for more of the instrument panels that are going to go in the front. So we're going to do those. And what I want to do is we're going to make a little bit of an anchor on the inside for this so it doesn't end up going in and being lost. And when we put the wings on, we got to make sure that the wires don't get tangled up in the gears. So there's a couple of things that we need to do in order to close the fuselage. And then we can think about moving on. Again, the tires, somebody painted them in gloss black, and that's not what it's supposed to be. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the flat black. So I'm going to give those a quick spray. Also, whoever did this before, they put gloss on the nose cone, and they really didn't do a good job. They didn't get the flash off. You can see all the flash. And yeah, that's a little bit better. Like I said, whoever did this before didn't really do a good job doing that. Prepping it before painting it. What we're going to do is we're going to actually put this part in, and that would be part 15C. It's a really small piece. And again, this has got to be black. So let's clean this up a little bit before we glue it. There. So that's nice and clean. And we'll give that a bit to set. And what we can do is we'll actually paint this, the flat black, just like we're going to paint the tires. And I think that's going to be it for the flat black. The battery compartment is. Well, with this going back and forth, there's a possibility that it could actually fall in the plane. These come in really handy. What gave me the idea to actually use the trees was the AMT kit. When I had done the Enterprise D, because they actually instruct you to cut part of the tree for the little feet to put on the base. So I thought that was a really good idea. So what I want to do is I want to cut some of these approximately 1/2 inch. And the reason I'm going to do that is I'm going to glue them to the floor of the fuselage. And what they're going to do is, when we remove the power pack, it's going to give us like a guide to keep it in place. There. I don't know if you can see in there, but when it sets a little bit, I'll show you. I put some of the tree, and I use them as posts or guides so that when we slide in the battery compartment, it'll go straight in, and we won't have to worry about it falling in and unable to sides. And we're going to need to paint those. Why don't we think about taking the landing gear off now so they don't get the overspray from the black, so we can paint them right away. Okay. And I think another thing what we'll do is we'll take off the windows, the frames for the cockpit, because these are going to be needed to be painted before we can put the clear plastic in place. So if we do this now, we won't have to worry about them getting any overspray on them. Right, so you can see that's a little bit better, and it's going to dry. It's going to be matte finish. And the same thing with the black. The gloss will go away as it dries, and it'll get a little bit more realistic. Okay, I think it's time we move on to the bulkheads on the inside. Here's one, and I'm going to paint the same kind. We're going to put it silver. So one is going to go in the front, one's going to go in the rear pilot. The one in the back is going to be that looks like more like a radar screen. Well, I guess while we're waiting for all this to dry, we can go ahead and we can put the landing gear in the front below the cockpit. And we had already painted that. All we got to do is put the wheels on. All right, we're going to need our friend Mr. Clamp. So the landing gear underneath in the back, they're already set. All we got to do is paint them and put them on. Let's check these. These are looking pretty good. That way there, we can still get this to be able to pull this out. And then it can go back in. So maybe what we can think about now is, let's see how this is doing. This seems to be drying pretty well, and you can see the instrument panel is going to go on. I think actually what we're going to do is with this, we can just put some microsol on, and we'll be able to transfer it just like that. And just kind of saturate the decal with some of the microsol, and that way there we can just easily put it onto the little bulkhead for the instrument panel. Yeah, I don't know if you can see the instrument panel. We're all set to let that dry, and that's going to go into the top half, so we're going to let that dry for now. And like I said, we got to use some cardboard for the front one, because the bulkhead appears to be missing. Maybe this will work just fine. All right. So let's cut out the instrument panel for the front. We glue this to the cardboard, then we can just cut out around it. So why don't we do that? Figure right about there. Yeah, that looks pretty cool already. It looks a little bit more realistic with the silver. And when we glue it into place, we can touch up just the bottom part. So that'll be good. So let's put that over here to dry. Alright, so the landing gear is painted. The wheels are painted, so we got to wait for the paint to dry. We got the landing gear in the front, that's drying. We put the pegs in. Let's see if we can put in the This feels dry enough, and we can put the instrument panel into the cockpit, and that's going to go in the front over there. So let's see about a little bit of glue. Well, I guess we can't really do anything else until everything starts to dry. Okay, so everything had some time to dry, and we're ready to move on. For instance, we can think about putting the landing gear on the bottom, gluing that into place. We can unclamp. Let's see how this looks. And you can see the landing gear on the bottom is glued in place pretty nicely. And we're getting ready to put the two halves together. So let's check on, you guys remember, we had to use cardboard backing for this section of the cockpit, only because the bulkhead is missing. So what we can do now is we can go ahead and cut this out. Yeah, that actually gonna work out pretty good. You can see we got the instrument panel, maybe a little bit of trimming there. And this is going to go into the front part of the fuselage, the back part. So this is going to go in right here. So that looks pretty good. Let's put a little bit more glue on that section. We can think about putting the wings on now for more permanent positioning. I'm going to make sure that the wires do not get crossed up in these gears. And let me show you guys the inside of the cockpit, the instrument panels. Looking pretty cool. And we got to wait for that to dry. Once that's dry, we can think about putting the halves together. If you can see that a little bit better. So let's flip this upside down, and we're gonna think about putting the landing gear in. So we had already put the doors on. And it looks like we're gonna put some of the lights on the bottom as well. So the landing gear is going to go with the peg for the wheel that's going to be facing outward. So let's turn the model around. There are little areas. Again, I want to make sure you guys can see this. When you're looking inside the landing gear, that's where those little areas, that's where they're going to go. So why don't we put some glue? It's going to go just like that. We're going to make sure it's straight, and they are straight. All right, let's go ahead and we can do the same thing for the other side now. Yeah, it looks pretty good. So we got all of the landing gear in position right now. So again, we got to wait for all this to dry. So let's put this maybe this way, gluing these onto the plastic, the clear cockpit glass. If we can find that, let's take a look. Here it is, part 6. Did you hear it kind of click into place? So that'll go like that. All right, I think we're ready to close it up now. I had to do a couple of things in order to make sure that the lights were all working and that the thrusters are working. And we've got the flash underneath, and we've got the lights on the sides, and we've got the cockpits. So what we got to do now is, now we got to make sure all the wires get tucked in, so none of them are actually sticking out, because that would be a bad thing. And you can see we got some sticking out over here, because once we super glue this, there's going to be no way to get to it. Alright, make sure I got all the... Oh, see how it can be tricky. We got one right here. It needs to go back on the inside. Like that. There. I think what we can do now is we can actually, I'm going to unclamp this, and then we're going to glue it. So get the clamps off, and we got to put the glue, the super glue in, and we're going to make sure everything works. Again, I want to make sure that we got everything before we glue it, because I'm not going to be able to get this back out. Alright, so we got it snapped together. Alright, so it's been about a little over half an hour. And I think I want to do is I want to put the cone on the front. So this has been clamped all that time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unclamp the nose. And we're going to put the cone on, and I'm going to clamp the back. And this is the cone. I'm going to go just like that. So how cool is that starting to look? Alright, let's take this off, and we got to put on some more glue. Alright, I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to clamp the back now. Glue up the back end. Alright, and now we can put the rear wing on both sides. When the back is dry, we're going to clamp the middle sections, and then everything will be glued together. And I want to check the electronics, and you can see the cockpit. You can see the lights that are on the sides, the flashing on the bottom, the red light on top, and we have the rocket thrusters. So again, we got to wait We're going to wait probably about half an hour to an hour and make sure it's all dry, and then we can clamp the mill. Okay, so it's had some time to dry, and I think what we're going to do now is we're going to actually unclamp it. You got to be careful taking these things off, man. And we got the ones in the middle. And finally, we've got this one. So you can see it pretty much, it's all glued. Everything is all put together. Why don't we go ahead? I got to start putting these clamps, some things that I'm going to put on here. I put on the window. So let me go ahead. I'm going to glue the window on. Yeah, I was thinking about keeping it open, but we'll go ahead and we'll shut it. Let's go ahead and make sure everything works. You can see in the cockpit, that looks pretty cool. Again, we got the light on the bottom, the flashing, and we've got the thrusters. And let's go ahead. I want to put the light out. We'll take a look at the plane. You can see in taking a look inside of the fuselage, the cockpit. And we got the red light on top, and we've got the thrusters firing in the back, and we can spin her around, and we've got the flashing light on the bottom. Let me put the light back on. So the fuselage is together. And like I said, we're ready to move on now. We're going to move on to the final assembly. And I think what we have left is we're going to be doing the tires on the landing gear. And we have a couple of things to go on the back of the plane where the thrusters are, but that'll be it. And then we're going to concentrate on doing all the decals. So my friends, I hope you've been enjoying this build. And again, we're gonna fix that because that's not supposed to be there. And it's gonna look pretty good. It's starting to look pretty sharp. So until my next video in this build, my friends, thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.